Suppose you lived in the 19th century and you bought some land at a modest price from the rather dubious Russian Empire. And when I say some land, I mean over 500,000 square miles. And when I say a modest price, I mean about $7.2 million. Would you consider that an awful decision? I would.
Life is awful, but sometimes adding a missing piece or perspective can change something awful into something full of awe. I'm Seth Adam Smith, and this is Awful Inspiration.
In the late 1800s, shortly after the end of the American Civil War, the United States finalized one of the most controversial land deals ever made in history. The controversial land deal was the Alaska Purchase, otherwise known as Seward's Folly or mistake. Now, why was it known as Seward's Folly? Well, at that time, the United States Secretary of State was a man by the name of William H. Seward. It was he who negotiated the purchase of Alaska, a staggering 586,412 square miles. Now, the United States bought the entire territory for a bargain price of 7.2 million, or about 133 million in today's dollars, adjusted for inflation. That actually comes out to about 37 cents per acre, which is ironic because I feel like I bought my half acre of land for much more than 37 cents per acre. Interestingly enough, though, the United States Senate approved this Alaska purchase within days. They thought it was a good and wise decision. But the United States House held up the funding for the purchase for more than a year. They weren't convinced that it was a wise choice. You see, at that time, most Americans believed that the Alaskan territory was completely and utterly useless. A polar bear garden, they called it. A Russian fairyland full of ice and snow and nothing else. Seward's Folly, proclaimed the press. And that was the label that stuck. Most people, when they thought about Alaska, thought about Seward's folly or mistake in buying the territory of Alaska. Be that as it may, the purchase of Alaska was finalized in October of 1867. It was considered a mistake by many. Worthless land, or fool's gold. Until 1896, when someone discovered real gold. And that discovery ushered in the Klondike Gold Rush, when suddenly thousands of people flocked to Alaska to find gold. And there they found more than just gold. They found stores of treasure and natural resources. Suddenly, this Russian fairyland wasn't so worthless anymore. In the time since then, Alaska's value has far exceeded its original purchase price. It's a land rich with natural resources: fish, timber, minerals, oil, gas. But more than that, Alaska is one of the most staggeringly beautiful places on Earth. And I'm personally convinced that God himself goes fishing there every year. And it's the place where I was born, Anchorage, Alaska. I'm a native Alaskan. So if you ever find yourself in Alaska or in Seward's Folly, do yourself a favor. Go for a drive on the Seward Highway, down the Seward Peninsula. It's one of the most awe-inspiring, awe-inducing, awful drives you will ever take. Indeed, that drive alone is worth the $7.2 million. At least to me. It's worth every penny. So yeah, Seward's Folly was an awful decision, and one I'm forever grateful for as an Alaskan native. Thanks so much for listening today. Make it an awful day.